Hello my friends, my name is Adlan de Ponteves and it is my great pleasure to welcome you on board into this course. I am one of the two instructors here with whom you will be doing all the practical activities inside which together we will build all the different machine learning models of this course. So congratulations again for taking this course, and now before we start all the practical activities, I just want to make sure that everyone follow these instructions that were just given to you right before this tutorial, so that we can all be ready to code the machine learning models, right? It is important that we do this because I really don't want any of you to have technical issue or to be blocked on something. I want here everyone to learn machine learning smoothly. So in this tutorial, I'm gonna make sure that everyone followed the instructions here so that we can all be ready to start coding. All right, so let's just follow the instructions here step by step. The first thing I asked you to do was to click the link of the folder containing all the Python code, R code, and datasets of this course. So let's do this first. Let's click this link. This link redirects you to, indeed, the whole machine learning A to Z folder with all the codes and datasets. Here, I made sure to connect from a different Gmail account so that we can have the same page. So you should get a shared with me folder, which is of course this machine learning A to Z folder. Now, don't worry if you have trouble accessing this folder. That probably is because you don't have a Gmail account, so I really encourage you to create and sign into a Gmail account. And if you can't do this, don't worry, I have an alternative solution for you, which I'll explain at the end of this tutorial. All right, so here we're all on the same page. Then let's see what I wanted you to do. That next thing is in important note number 1. I asked you to please download this folder on your machine in order to get all the files, especially the datasets, which we will have to upload when training the machine learning models. Alright, so let's do this. I'm going to show you how to do it in case anyone missed it. In order to download this folder, it's very simple. You just need to click that little arrow here and then click download, and this will download your folder. It is not a big folder because it only contains codes and datasets. So at first it's going to zip the file and then it's going to download it very quickly. All right, it should just take a few seconds and there we go. Download ready. Now it is downloaded and all good. Perfect. So I'm going to close this tab and now I'm going to show you what we got. So I'm going to go to my download folder. Here it is. This is what was just downloaded, this machine learning A to Z folder. So let's unzip it. I just double clicked to unzip it and here it is. So I always like to put it on my desktop. So there you go. Let's go to my desktop and here is the whole machine learning A to Z folder containing all the different branches of machine learning, structured in these 10 parts, and in each part you will find the different machine learning models of the part, because each part actually corresponds to a specific branch of machine learning, each one corresponding to a different type of prediction. So for example, in regression, we're going to predict a continuous real number. In classification, we're going to predict a category. In clustering, we're going to identify some patterns in the data. So you see, all these are different branches of machine learning. And so in each of these branches, you will find all the major machine learning models. And in each machine learning model folder, you will find two folders: Python containing the Python implementations and R containing the R implementations. And in each of them, you will find the same data set with which we will build and train the machine learning model. All right, so it is all structured the same way here. So you will find everything. You will find the data sets, the Python codes, and the R codes. And so make sure to have this folder because indeed, whenever we build machine learning models, we will have to upload the data set within the implementation. So we will get to that later. I can't wait to start, by the way. I'm really excited to show you how we're going to build all these models. And now let's follow the rest of the instructions. So I'm going to go back to the link of the Google Drive folder. There we go. And now let's go back to this article, which you just saw in the previous tutorial. And let's read important note number 2. So important note number 2 is only for Python coders, because now I'm going to explain how to open the Python files of this folder with Google Colaboratory. And I will give a short introduction to Google Colaboratory. All right, so here I specify that indeed you have to sign in to your Gmail account. Otherwise, you won't be able to open directly the Google Colaboratory files. So indeed, if you're signed into your Gmail account, this will automatically open this folder on your Google Drive, which will indeed allow you to open the Python files with Google Colaboratory. So I'm going to show you this right away. By the way, here I am on a separate Gmail account. So it's exactly as if I was a student with, a different Gmail account than the one from which I hosted all these folders. So normally, if you're signed into your Gmail account, we should all get the same thing. So for example, let's go to part 2, regression. Then let's go to simple linear regression. That's a very simple machine learning model, which will actually be the first machine learning model we will build. Then let's go to Python, because now indeed I want to introduce you to Google Colaboratory, which is to me the best platform to start with to code in Python. And there you go. So that's the dataset, and that's the Python implementation. This Python implementation has, as you can see, the IPYNB format, which means IPython notebook. And therefore, that means that you can only open this file in either Jupyter Notebook, which is a very famous IDE to code in Python, or Google Colaboratory. And we're going to choose Google Colaboratory for the simple reason that we can get a quick and direct access to our Python implementations. By that I mean that we don't have to install anything, we don't have to install any software, and we don't have to install any package or library inside, because everything is already pre-installed. So that's the beauty of it. In order to code in Python, you don't have to do anything. You just need to double click this file, and then as you can see, you can just directly open this file with Google Colaboratory. And that's really the beauty of it. And then, we won't have to install any package. We won't have to install the data science libraries like TensorFlow, Scikit-learn. Everything is already pre-installed. So that's why I really want you to start with Google Colab, because indeed, this will be so easy for you to get started with Python. All right? So that's the implementation of the simple linear regression model with all the different steps, which of course we're going to re-implement from scratch step by step, but that's for later. And now I just want to say something important. This file is in read-only mode, which means that we can't modify this file right now. But of course, don't worry, I'm going to show you right away how you can create a copy of this file in which you will be able to indeed modify it. And these will be explained again and again each time we build a new machine learning model like this one, simple linear regression. All right, so as I said, this is in read-only mode, therefore you can't modify it. Right now you see I'm trying to press enter and nothing happens, so you can't modify it. However, in order to modify it, you just need to click File here and then Save a Copy in Drive. And by clicking this, as you can see, this will create a copy of this Google Colaboratory file in which you will be able to modify the code and run it mostly. All right, so now if I click this and I press enter, indeed, I can modify this file. All right, and you can also run it, right? I'm running the first cell here. There you go. So if I click this, you see that this cell was run. But once again, that's all for later. We will re-implement everything on Google Colab, and you will see that this will be super easy and super smooth. All right, so now you know everything. You are introduced to Google Colab. So once again, I recommend to use Google Colab for 3 reasons. 1, because of course it is a free and open source Jupyter Notebook environment. 2nd, you don't have to install any software. You can just click the link from the folder. And 3rd, all the data science libraries, packages like TensorFlow, Scikit-learn, anything is already pre-installed. So you won't have any trouble or any worry installing anything. And that's really the beauty of it. All right, so that was Google Colab. And now, final note on the instructions that were given to you just before. Let's see. Important note number 3, still for Python coders. So I understand that some of you can't have a Gmail account because maybe you're working from your company, or you just don't like Google, so I totally respect that. And if that's the case, well, if you don't want to code on Google Colaboratory and prefer to code on another Python IDE like Jupyter Notebook or Spyder in Anaconda, that's totally fine. I'm going to guide you now on how to do this. And for all other people, if you're happy with Google Colaboratory, well, you can just skip this tutorial and move on to the next one, where Kirill will teach you how to install R. And if you don't want to work on R and just on Python, well, you can directly move on to the practical activities with part 1, data preprocessing. All right, and for the rest of you now who wants to work on another IDE than Google Colab, then please watch the end of this tutorial and let's do this. So important note number 3 was that indeed if you don't want to code on Google Colaboratory and prefer to code on another Python IDE like Jupyter Notebook or Spyder in Anaconda, you can find all the IPYNB files and the PY files in the folder attached at the bottom of this article. This one. So you just have to scroll down and then click this folder to download it. As you can see, it is downloading it, already downloaded, perfect. And so now I'm going to show you what we just got. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to my download folder. So that's the old one, so I'm going to put that back in. This is my download folder. This is what we just downloaded, so I'm going to put that in my desktop. There we go. I'm going to unzip it, do the same, and now here is the folder. So that's the whole machine learning A to Z folder with the same codes and data sets. However, this time you will get in each model and in each Python folder, well, not only the IPYNB implementation, for Jupyter Notebook or Google Colaboratory, but also the PY, the Python implementation in .py format, with which you can, code in Python on Spyder or the classic terminal. And speaking of Spyder or Jupyter Notebook, well, that's what I'm going to show you right away. In order to code on these platforms, which are different than Google Colaboratory, well, let me show you how to do this. So we're going to have to go back to Google. Then here we're going to type Anaconda, because that's the whole platform that contains Jupyter Notebook and Spyder. We're going to click the first link. Then we're going to click download. And then, make sure to choose your right system, Windows, macOS, or Linux. I'm on macOS, I'm going to go here. Then you just need to click download here. Make sure to download Python 3.7 and not Python 2.7. So download here. It is now downloading Anaconda. It should just take a few seconds, 15 seconds, 13, 10. All right, so we're going to get it very soon. 6 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. All good. There we go. Perfect, we have it. So now I'm going to go back to my download folder. Here it is. This is the file. So you just double click on it to execute it. Then continue. And then you just click continue, continue, continue all the time. Agree, install. So I'm not going to click install here because Anaconda is already installed on my machine, but you won't have any issue. You just need to go up to the end and this will be installed very quickly. All right, so I'm just going to close this. And now, once it's installed, well, you will find it in your programs. So on Mac, you just have to go to your applications, and then there you go. You double click Anaconda Navigator. This will open Anaconda, and inside which you will find, as you will see, several Python IDEs, even R, by the way, on which you can run all the Python files that are in this folder that we just downloaded from the bottom of this article. So let's start with Jupyter Notebook. You just need to click launch here. This will launch it. And here it is. Here is Jupyter Notebook. So now you are actually on your machine. These are the folders of your computer. So you're just going to go to the folder where you unzipped this machine learning A to Z folder. So remember, I put it on my desktop. So I click desktop here, then OK to give access. Then this is the machine learning A to Z folder with all the codes and data sets that was just unzipped. So let's go inside. And then let's take, for example, part 2 regression, then simple linear regression, and of course then Python, because we are on a Python IDE. And then let's just open simple linear regression.ipynb. And there you go. That's the Python file, which again, you can run and get exactly the same results here. So I'm just going to show you. We can click this button here to run. All right, so this was executed. Good. Now we import a data set. Now we split the data set into the training set and the test set. Now we train the simple linear regression model on the training set. Then we predict the test set results. And then we plot the results. And there you go. All right. So everything is executed. We plotted the training set results and the test set results. You see, the numbers here mean that the cells were executed. All right. So that's Jupyter Notebook. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to execute the Python files if you just prefer them. So let's do this. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to launch Spyder now. This is the recommended IDE to run the Python files. And actually, I'm going to code some of the Python files in this machine learning A to Z course on Spyder. So let's do this. Welcome to Spyder. That's where you're going to code your implementations. That's where you're going to find your files, look at the variables you create of your implementation, some help window, and your plots. And this is where the code will be executed, the Python console. So very simply, in order to execute a Python implementation, well, we just have to go to File and then Open to open a new file. And then, well, we're going to go to, this desktop folder where I put the machine learning A to Z folder. Then we're going to go, for example, to regression. Let's take the same example, simple linear regression, Python, and there you go, simple linear regression. Open. Now in files, let's make sure that we're also in the same folder that contains the dataset. So part 2 regression, simple linear regression, Python, and there you go. And now you can just close this. Make sure that you took the py file, right, and not this one, ipynb. And now there you go, you can just execute everything. So in order to execute the code, well, what I like to do is do it code section by code section. So here I just did the first one. I used the shortcut Command or Control for Windows users plus Enter to execute. So now let's run the second section. There you go. It imported the dataset because here we are in the right folder. Now let's execute the third code section. By the way, of course, all these will be explained step by step and we will re-implement everything. So executing this, now this one to build and train the model. Now this one to make some predictions. All right, so everything goes smoothly. And this one where we're gonna see something plotted in the console or actually in a separate window. And there you go, the separate windows. That's the regression line with the predictions compared to the real result. So all this, once again, will be explained step by step. But you see, you have many options to run your Python files. I gave you the three: Google Colaboratory, Jupyter Notebook, or Spyder. And my personal recommendation is to run them on Google Colab because you won't have anything to install, not any package, not any library, not any dependency. Everything is ready for you to plug and play with the models. All right? So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you managed to choose your favorite IDE, and I'm gonna start by coding on Google Colab. Then I will code a little bit on Spyder, and then for deep learning, of course, I'm gonna code back in Google Colab again because TensorFlow is already installed and all the deep learning libraries are already installed. So there you go. Now I'm super excited because we're gonna start soon the practical activities, and we will start with part 1, data preprocessing. So I can't wait to begin the real journey. And until then, enjoy machine learning.